Som ung blev han kendt som den måske største skakspiller, verden nogensinde har set. I dag er han en af Vladimir Putins skarpeste kritikere. Garri Kasparov har i mange år advaret Vesten mod den russiske præsident, der nu har invaderet Ukraine. Hør, hvorfor han mener, Putin er en trussel for freden i hele verden, og hvad han mener, at vi bør gøre ved det. Sender Danmark i al hemmelighed våben til Ukraine? Ja, det vil Ukraines ambassadør i Danmark i hvert fald ikke afvise i et interview, vi bringer i aftenens program. Hvis der er danske våben på vej, så følger de en stadig tættere strøm af militært udstyr til Ukraine, så det kan forsvare sig mod den russiske invasion af landet. Velkommen til Deadline, der i aften handler om støtten til Ukraine. Ukrainske styrker i hovedstaden Kiev forbereder sig her til aften på endnu en nat, hvor de skal forsvare byen mod russiske styrkers forsøg på at trænge ind i centrum. Samtidig kommer der løbende meldinger fra stadig flere vestlige lande om støtte til nye sanktioner overfor Rusland og hjælp til Ukraine. En af aftenens helt store nyheder er, at Tyskland nu vil sende våben direkte til den ukrainske hær. Den tyske kansler Olaf Scholz har via sociale medier meddelt, at Tyskland vil levere 1.000 panserværnsraketter og 500 Stinger-missiler til at skyde fly ned med til Ukraine. Det er et historisk brud med et dogme i tysk udenrigs- og sikkerhedspolitik siden afslutningen på 2. verdenskrig om aldrig at sende angrebsvåben til andre landes soldater i en konfliktzone. Og i dag lukkede Estland, der grænser op til Rusland, sit luftrum for alle russiske fly. Landet slutter sig til Storbritannien og Polen og 6 andre østeuropæiske lande, der også har lukket deres luftrum for russisk flytrafik, efter at invasionen gik i gang. I EU foregår der samtidig lige nu en intens diskussion om landene skal tage det, der er blevet kaldt sanktionspolitikkens atomvåben i brug, nemlig at udelukke Rusland fra det internationale pengeoverførselssystem SWIFT. Sådan her lød bønnen fra Polen til Tyskland, der stadig tøver med at bruge den hårdeste økonomiske sanktion.
Członkowie Bundestagu. Od jutro, od waszej decyzji między innymi, zależy to, czy europejskie wartości przełożą się na europejskie konkrety. Czy faktycznie Niemcy zdecydują o tym, żeby pomóc Ukrainie, żeby Unia Europejska nałożyła sankcje również właśnie w tak szerokim zakresie, o który apelujemy.
Og så er der det seneste danske bidrag til Ukraine, som forsvarsminister Morten Bødskov annoncerede i formiddag.
Ja, lige nu er der lastbiler på vej igennem Polen, blandt andet med 2.000 militære beskyttelsesveste og 700 militære førstehjælpskasser, som kan bruges af ukrainerne. Et udtryk for stærk solidaritet fra Danmarks side. Samtidig er der et mobil hospital på vej, der er beskyttelsesudstyr, der er andet beredskabsudstyr på vej til ukrainerne nu, fordi nu gælder det. Nu skal vi stå sammen i forsvaret for Ukraine.
Om lidt skal vi høre, hvilke indtryk de mange nye tiltag gør på ukrainerne, når vi taler med Ukraines ambassadør i Danmark. Men inden da skal vi møde en, der mener, at vi alt for mange år har været blinde for, hvad det er for et Rusland, hvor sanktioner nu bliver rettet imod. En af de skarpeste russiske kritikere af præsident Putin og hans krig i Ukraine er oppositionslederen Garri Kasparov.
Tell your leaders that this regime is criminal, is a police state. They arrest people everywhere because they're scared stiff.
Efter 20 år som verdens bedste på skakbrættet, gik han ind i politik og forsøgte at blive sit lands præsident. Forsøget mislykkedes, og han var nødt til at gå i eksil i USA. Og derfra har han lige siden kritiseret Ruslands præsident.
Anytime you pretend that Putin is one of you, Putin belongs to this democratic club, it backfires on us, because that's what Kremlin propaganda is using against us.
For nogle timer siden talte jeg med Garri Kasparov om den russiske invasion af Ukraine. Og jeg startede med at spørge ham, hvad det er, vi ikke forstod, og måske stadigvæk ikke forstår, om Ruslands præsident, når vi er så overrasket over, at han valgte krigen. For years you have warned the West about Vladimir Putin. What is it that we didn't and perhaps still don't understand about the Russian president?
I would say Russian dictator. That would be a more precise way to describe Putin's rule. But it's not what you don't understand. It's what you didn't want to hear, not from me, but from Putin himself. Vladimir Putin was never hiding his true intentions. From the early days when he was mourning collapse of the Soviet Union as the greatest geopolitical disaster, his first action as Russian president, restoring Soviet anthem, the war in Chechnya, and all the crimes that he committed over these 2 decades. And in 2007, in Munich, at the Security Conference in Europe, he made it very clear that his view of the world was radically different from ours. He talked about return to the spheres of influence, which meant that he wanted the world to go back to the 19th century, with the big countries deciding for smaller countries how to run their affairs. And he was very consistent in pushing this agenda. He attacked the Republic of Georgia that was moving towards West and wanted to join EU and NATO. He helped Bashar al-Assad in Syria, committing war crimes as carpet bombing Aleppo. He annexed Crimea in 2014 and started war in the east of Ukraine. So he was very consistent in his view that Russia was in the position to restore its old greatness by ignoring international treaties and all agreements. And he always wanted to talk to big guys, to Americans, maybe to some European nations. But in principle, he believed that the world should be run very differently. And violence was an important instrument for running his domestic affairs and also international aggression.
In your 2015 book, Winter's Coming, you wrote that the threat that Putin poses has grown from being local to regional to global. How does Putin, in your mind, threaten not just, obviously, Ukraine, but the whole world?
Look, it's going step by step. What's happening in Ukraine now, it's a final blow by Putin to the entire infrastructure of global security built after World War II. If he's allowed to take over the neighboring country, and this is not a small country, we're talking about largest European nation now by territory, and it's a country of 44 million people. If he can do that, hopefully not, so that means all bets are off. So then, what's the point of having, all these treaties and agreements? And do you have any doubts that he will look further? Moldova is an obvious target. And then why not testing NATO countries? Why not testing NATO resolve? Because we used to live in a world where that is run by agreements, by rule of law, by treaties. And Putin wants to use force as the main argument.
What should be the response of the West?
Look, it's better late than never. And now we're seeing that gradually the free world is getting united behind its policies to stop Putin aggression, recognizing that Ukraine is a current battlefield, but he may move further. And let's not forget, it's not just about Putin and Ukraine. China is watching. And if Putin succeeds, God forbid, then I don't think anybody has doubt. China will go after Taiwan. So we are trying to save the world order. And it means that Russia must be isolated. So I think European nations ready now to cut Russia from SWIFT, because what you need now is to bankrupt Putin's war machine. He is so arrogant and emboldened because he has tons of cash. And Europe, for decades, have been helping him to build this war chest. And now it's time to bankrupt him. Time to cut him from financial institutions that can lend money to Russia, and also to isolate Russia, not on words, but on actions. And I think there's much can be done, from recalling ambassadors from Moscow and reducing the diplomatic ties with Russia to bare minimum, and to expelling Russia from international institutions, from sport to Interpol.
In a tweet yesterday, you wrote that Western leaders do not know how to fight. They would respond, I think, well, we fight Russia politically, diplomatically, and not least economically with far-reaching sanctions. What would you say to that?
Oh, now we see some sanctions. But as for sanctions before, come on, give me a break. So you can pay lip service, as Germany and France did. But it's not that's what could impress Putin. Germany said whatever, Angela Merkel wanted, but for Putin, what was important, that Germany doubled amount of Russian gas it was buying since annexation of Crimea. The business with Europe was flourishing. Putin could get away with all his crimes, for so many years. And it created a sense of impunity. Now they're trying to actually have the consistent policy of preventing him from further aggression. But for so many years, they only paid the lip service. They were not serious because Putin looked at not at words but at actions, and the actions were not there.
Mr. Kasparov, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Putin skal ikke kunne slippe afsted med en krig uden store omkostninger, siger altså oppositionspolitikeren og systemkritikeren Garri Kasparov. Og den slags omkostninger mener man i EU, at man fandt frem til i går, da man præsenterede en lang række økonomiske straftiltag, der skal ramme russisk økonomi.
The package is very strong. It has been adopted very quickly. You have never seen the European Union acting so quickly.
Wir treffen das System Putin dort, wo es getroffen werden muss, eben nicht nur wirtschaftlich und finanziell, sondern in seinem Machtkern.
Dass wir es ernst meinen, zeigen wir auch daran, dass wir einen Akt setzen, den es in dieser Form noch nicht gegeben hat, nämlich auch den Staatschef der Russischen Föderation und den Außenminister mit Sanktionen belegen.
EU's nuværende sanktioner rammer på 5 områder, og er for det første målrettet en række individer personligt og økonomisk. Vladimir Putin og omkring 650 navngivne russere har fået indefrosset deres midler og fået indrejseforbud i Vesten. For det andet slår EU ned på den russiske bankverden ved at forhindre bankernes adgang til EU's finansielle markeder. For det tredje så forbyder EU salg, levering, overførelse og eksport af varer, der kan bruges til olieraffinering. Det er for at ramme den russiske energisektor. Og for det fjerde så vil EU ramme den russiske transportsektor ved at stoppe eksport af varer, der kan bruges blandt andet i luft- og rumfartsindustrien. Og endelig for det femte vil unionen begrænse adgangen til europæiske visa. Alt sammen handler det om at ramme Rusland og indirekte støtte Ukraine. Men hvad tænker ukrainerne så om den hjælp, de får? Det talte jeg tidligere i dag med Ukraines ambassadør i Danmark om. First, I want to ask you, what do you feel about the West's reaction so far to the Russian invasion of Ukraine?
Well, as our president mentioned several times, we were talking to the European leaders, to our American friends, that, look, guys, please don't waste your time. Don't wait until Russia starts the invasion. Please implement immediately the preventive sanctions and demand from Russia to de-escalate the situation. Tell them that if they withdraw troops from the Ukrainian borders, then the sanctions might be, let's say, lifted. But unfortunately, everybody was waiting until the worst scenario started. So far, we are in a new already reality. Ukraine is fighting against Russia. Russia launched military operation against us. So, of course, at this particular stage, Western help is extremely important. This is something which is our 5th soldier in a row. And we expect that they will help more.
And how would you describe the help that you are getting now?
Look, Russia's invasion, I think it's an open eye story for the European leaders. They finally understood that what Putin was promising them, it was a lie that they cannot trust. So far, we see that, yeah, they are already increasing their help. And it looks like they understand that, yes, they should do whatever they can so that Ukraine should survive, Ukraine should resist, fight back, and that's the only solution. So, of course, the help is tremendously increasing, and we see it, I mean, every hour I receive SMS from my colleagues from other embassies in other EU countries who are signaling that, yes, the government adopted this or that decision, they will send assistance to Ukraine.
I know that you passed a note to the Danish government saying specifically what Ukraine needs in this current situation. Can you tell me, in concrete terms, what did you ask Denmark for?
Look, right now we have, I would say, like 3 types of assistance which we need. The first, which is and most important, is the military assistance. As we are now, we are protecting the country by our own means, meaning that no NATO troops are present in Ukraine. But then we need at least military support. We need something that our men, our soldiers can take into the hands and protect the country. So the assistance goes in terms of the military support, and that's what we ask the Danish government also to help. Then humanitarian aid is urgently needed because we have a lot of refugees, so to say, people who are fleeing from the battle territories where they are taking place the most, and they are trying to escape, going to the western part of Ukraine. So we are rolling out emergency centers there to help them, to accommodate them. So we need humanitarian help. But also financial support is also extremely important because, of course, we need money. We need to some extent to stabilize a little bit the economy and to survive.
But the most important thing you said, military assistance urgently.
Yep.
Denmark has provided today 2,000 flak jackets and 700 first aid kits. That's not really military assistance as such. How do you feel about that kind of help, or lack of?
The most encouraging signal for me was your Prime Minister's message that Denmark has no political will not to send military assistance to Ukraine. And that was repeated by the Minister of Defense. Right now we are working on different tracks. I should not tell you everything where we are working because not to let Russians know our plans. But believe me, Danish government is delivering more than they just declared yesterday, and we highly appreciate that. We have a lot more what they will provide us in the coming days. They are working fast, and they are coordinating their assistance together with other NATO allies and EU allies. And believe me, at this stage, I would just assure you that Denmark is our real and true friend, and they are helping.
So Danish arms to Ukraine.
I will put, here, I will be silent once again. I mean, Denmark is on our side with all means.
EU leaders have, in cooperation with the United States, put together a number of economic sanctions against Russia. This is how the European leaders are describing them.
The package of massive and targeted sanctions European leaders approved tonight clearly demonstrates that. It will have maximum impact on the Russian economy and the political elite.
They are massive, the sanctions, say Ursula von der Leyen. They will have a huge impact. Is that also what you think they will do?
Look, I mean, this kind of and types of sanctions, of course, is much bigger than they were before Russia started this military operation against Ukraine. And they are really harsh. We also try to expand it, and it looks like the European leaders are also working on that, because the sanctions should be tougher and tougher as Russia continues this military operation against Ukraine. So yes, we agree with them. We are grateful to the leaders, but we also are sending more and more requests and suggestions what type of sanctions should be implemented.
And right now, as we speak, European leaders are discussing, again with their American counterparts, whether to introduce the measure of cutting Russia off from SWIFT, from the global interbank payment system. And most experts agree that this will cause huge damage on the Russian economy if that does happen. What effect do you expect that to have? Do you think it will could bring the war to an end?
I think that sanctions are at this stage the only or one of the most important tool which the West has in its hand to influence on Putin and his regime, and to show to Russians that, look, don't sit at home, don't keep silent, go to the protest and demand from his regime to stop the war against Ukraine. So yes, we think that it will hit Russian economy hard. It will reach out to the closest circle of people who are supporting the idea of invading Ukraine and who were not against that.
Ukraine is facing an overwhelming military force. The Russian military has fought back, but as President Zelensky has said in many of the videos that he has recorded in the past few days, Ukraine is doing this alone. Have a look here.
Цим ранком ми захищаємо нашу державу наодинці. як і вчора, найпотужніші сили світу спостерігають здалеку. Чи переконали Росію вчорашні санкції? Ми чуємо у своєму небі і бачимо на своїй землі, що цього недостатньо. Чужі війська все ще намагаються активізуватись на нашій території.
Are you confident that the Ukrainian army defending Kiev and other Ukrainian cities will be successful?
Of course, I mean, otherwise we should just surrender and forget about the existence of the country named Ukraine. This is, I mean, we all stand firm. Believe us, I mean, the motivation of people is extremely, extremely high. I mean, everybody is just saying, give us more weapon and we are ready to protect our houses. Right now, I don't know if you have pictures, you will see the pictures of Ukrainians who are staying in line waiting for the weapon to be given. I mean, nobody is hiding in the bushes. Nobody is leaving the country.
But President
Everybody
Zelensky seems very disappointed, unhappy about the fact that Ukrainians are fighting there alone on the battlefield against Russia.
And of course you can understand him because his own people are dying and dying because not Putin wants to invade Ukraine, because we are protecting not just our country but all civilized world. This is our major idea and that's what we are doing. We are trying to protect not just Ukraine but the whole Europe against this totalitarian regime and against the ideas which they have behind. And that's what we also are trying to explain, that please help us. We are not alone. We understand that the forces we have, they are smaller than the Russian army. But as I said, I mean, we are a big nation and we will protect and we will fight until the last soldier. And it looks like, yeah, Russians failed already. It looks like Russians already understood. They thought that it will be a rapid war, just 1 or 2 day maximums, and we will surrender, but it's not the case.
Do you feel betrayed?
I wouldn't say betrayed, but I would say that yes, we would like to have more support from our partners. And we are expecting it. And it looks, as I said, that some of the political leaders, they understood the reality and they started already rolling out the support to us.
What goes through your mind when you hear European leaders say, we stand with Ukraine, we're in solidarity with Ukraine, and they're not giving you the kind of support that you're looking for?
I would say that at this particular stage, they started giving the support which we are looking for. The trucks with weapons are directing towards Ukraine from the European countries. And that's what we need the most at these harsh times and difficult times. So, of course, when we are talking to my colleagues from other embassies here who are representing the EU countries, and I explain them, please don't waste time. It's over for diplomacy. Now we need actions. And now we need rapid decisions. And please do whatever you can to deliver weapons and everything you can, which would help us to defend.
Ambassador Voydoinik, what will decide the outcome of the war and of the fight for Kiev?
Every war ends up with diplomatic agreement and peace agreement. And as our president mentioned, we are ready for negotiations. We are ready to start these negotiations because we want to save as many as possible lives of Ukrainian people. We offered different places and different kind of negotiations with Russians. So we're waiting for their reply.
What are you ready to offer Russia?
We are ready to offer that we can sit and discuss how we will live in the future together, because Russia will be our neighbor. But what we are not ready to offer, that we will give up, that we will give them the country, that they will be here on my own soil, that they will be the king, or let's say they will be governing. It's not the way that we are.
Will you let them have guarantees that Ukraine will not become a member of NATO, will not pose a threat to Russia?
Look, NATO membership, I think this is the last thing which they were worried about. Their main goal was to return Ukraine under their control. They wanted to destroy the country. They always are saying that such country as Ukraine never existed. It's part of Russia, Russian Empire, or part of our people, but this is wrong. I always reply, if we are the same people as they pretend, yeah, then there might be Ukrainian flag, which you have here, hanging over the Kremlin top, but they have different flags. So we are different people. What we are offering, we are a peaceful nation. We didn't want this war. It's not our decision to start it. We never planned it, but we are forced, we are attacked, and we will reply. We are offering just normal solution. Withdraw your troops from our land, return to the before 2014 borders. Let's start from scratch, and then everybody will be happy. But
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Umiddelbart efter interviewet med ambassadøren blev optaget, tog vi kontakt til Forsvarsministeriet. Vi vil gerne vide, om Danmark sender våben til Ukraine, eller har lovet at gøre det. Svaret fra ministeriet lyder som følger. Vi kigger løbende på, hvordan Danmark kan bidrage. Forsvarsministeriet har et godt samarbejde med Ukraine og den ukrainske ambassadør. Michael Jarlner, god aften. International kommentator på Dagbladet Politikken. Det går stærkt i de her timer, mens vi har sendt, så har blandt andet det tyske ARD, altså den tyske tv-station ARD, fortalt, at man i EU forsøger nu at blive enige om at lukke hele det europæiske luftrum for russisk flytrafik. En række lande, og her sidst på dagen også Tyskland, har meddelt, at de nu sender våben til Ukraine, så landet kan forsvare sig mod de russiske invasionsstyrker. Altså, hvilken betydning skal vi tillægge det?
Det har meget stor betydning. Altså, man har måske kunne få det indtryk, at slaget om Kiev, som er i gang, og som formentlig bliver intensiveret her i weekenden, at det ligesom var det, der afgjorde det hele. Men lad os nu sige, at Rusland får held til at indtage Kiev, så venter der jo forud en guerillakrig. Man skal hele tiden huske på, at et land er jo ikke slået, før en guerillaen også er nedkæmpet. Og Ukraine har altså en meget, meget stor hær. Det er også en hær, der nu får våben udefra, får stærkere og stærkere våben udefra. Og så hvis man går lidt tilbage i historien, i sommer trak vi os selv tilbage fra Afghanistan. Det var verdens største militæralliance, der i 20 år førte krig mod nogle, sandalkrigere i Afghanistan, men ikke var i stand til at vinde. Vi har set det samme i Irak, det tidligere Sovjetunionen, hvor Rusland jo altså var kernen, tabte også 10 års krig i Afghanistan til mujahedinerne, som jo fik våben fra Vesten. Så det kan være en meget langvarig affære, og det kan være noget, der får Rusland til at bløde langsomt og i mange år frem.
Også de vestlige sanktioner mod Rusland ser ud til at blive skærpet i de kommende døgn. Man diskuterer her til aften det der med at udelukke Rusland fra det internationale samarbejde, hvor alverdens banker, altså hvor man kan, det der gør, at man kan overføre penge fra en bank til en anden. Det hedder SWIFT-systemet. Hvor væsentlig er den udvikling?
Det er meget væsentligt. Altså, SWIFT er jo det, man kalder det økonomiske atomvåben. Det vil jo sige, at man de facto kobler store dele af Rusland ud af verdensøkonomien. Og jeg kan huske, da Rusland annekterede Krim i 2014, der talte man om, at det skridt ville kunne koste 5% af det russiske BNP. Nu er det ikke sådan, at Rusland ikke har forberedt sig på den her situation. Man har opbygget meget, meget store valutareserver. Man har jo oplevet stigende gasindtægter, som er samlet op i en fond. Så man er i nogen grad forberedt på det. Så her og nu vil man formentlig kunne klare sig et stykke tid, men på lang sigt er det jo noget, der virkelig saver en masse af det økonomiske vælde i Rusland.
Nogle europæiske lande er for at udelukke russerne fra SWIFT-samarbejdet, andre er imod. Et af de lande, der nu erklærer sig parat til at bruge det våben der, det er Frankrig. Prøv lige at se her.
Il reste que quand on a une arme nucléaire financière entre les mains, on réfléchit avant de l'utiliser. Certains États membres ont fait part de réserves. Nous en tenons compte. La France ne fait pas partie de ces États. Je tiens à le dire avec beaucoup de clarté.
Ja, det er Bruno Le Maire, den franske finansminister. Frankrig er altså ikke de lande, ikke længere, i hvert fald et af de lande, der stritter imod at bruge det her atomvåben, sanktionsregimernes atomvåben. Men der er nogen, der stritter imod stadigvæk. Hvem er imod? Hvem er for?
Man kan sige, at dem, der er allermest afhængige af gas fra Rusland, er jo dem, der har været mest bekymrede, fordi man siger, hvad gør det ved vores muligheder for at kunne få gas fra Rusland, hvis ikke vi kan betale for det via SWIFT-systemet. Og det er så velkendt. Altså det er Tyskland og det er Italien, der har været mest skeptiske over for at bruge det her våben.
Italien siger nu, at de også er parat til at gøre det, men tyskerne holder fast i deres skepsis, i deres tøven.
Jo, men der er bevægelse i den tyske holdning til det. Baerbock har været ude i tysk presse her i weekenden og sige, nu skal vi passe på, at vi ikke laver noget, der rammer os selv hårdere, end det rammer russerne. Men man kan alligevel mærke her til aften, at der er bevægelse i kunsten. Og man taler nu om en delvis udelukkelse fra SWIFT, uden at jeg kan redegøre nærmere for, hvad man ligger i det.
Annalena Baerbock, den tyske udenrigsminister. Ukrainske styrker har nu i 2 døgn afvist russiske styrker, der har forsøgt at trænge ind i centrum af hovedstaden Kiev. Hvad betyder det for de beslutninger, der bliver taget der og i Moskva, og for den sags skyld også i de europæiske hovedstæder, at krigen måske trækker ud?
Jamen, der er ingen tvivl om, at russerne har jo hele tiden håbet på, at de kunne lave en lynaktion, hvor de kunne rykke ind, tage kontrollen, få smidt præsidenten på porten, altså Zelensky på porten, og så indsætte et mere pro-russisk styre. Det er jo ligesom den drejebog, man har lagt op til. Og det er klart, at jo længere det trækker ud, des mere det her kan udvikle sig i retning af den guerillakrig, vi begyndte indslaget her med. Desværre er det for Rusland, samtidig med, at på et tidspunkt begynder sanktionerne jo altså at virke. Plus, det tredje, man skal lægge mærke til, det er, jo ikke fordi, der er en overdreven fri opposition i Rusland. Det meste er undertrykt og smidt i spjældet. Men man har alligevel set et behov for at advare borgerne om at gå i demonstration. Der er så flere, der har gjort det alligevel. Det har man gjort. Man har indført censur i dag mod en række medier, Novaya Gazeta og forskellige Drost, Radio Moskva, har man indført censur imod, fordi de ikke må omtale det her som en invasion. Det vil sige, man er jo sådan set nervøs for, at den russiske befolkning ikke bryder sig om det her, hvis det trækker ud. Man kan sige, kunne man slutte det af, hurtigt afklare det, så kunne man måske forklare sig bort fra det. Men jo længere tid det her trækker ud, det større en politisk pine bliver det også på hjemmebanen, uden at vi skal overdrive oppositionens muligheder for at agere frit i Rusland.
Michael Jagner, mange tak.
Tak fordi jeg måtte komme.
Det var aftens deadline, men følg udviklingen på DR.dk og i radioviserne. Ifølge New York Times er EU-kommissionens Ursula von der Leyen klar til at præsentere nye sanktioner over for Rusland om få minutter. Vi er tilbage i morgen. Tak for nu.